Welcome to Season 4, Episode 23 of Workers Comp Unwrapped, with your host, Aneeq and Angela as our guest. Today we're exploring the technology shaping workers' compensation operations in 2026 with a practical focus on the tools providers are actually using day to day. We'll break down platforms that improve efficiency, the role of AI assistance, smarter RFA management tools, and modern intake systems that streamline workflows and reduce administrative burden.
Thanks for having me. I mean, it's definitely a wild time in the industry right now.
Oh, absolutely. And for you listening, whether you're running a medical practice, managing a billing department, or just kind of fascinated by the operational side of healthcare, we have some fantastic source material to unpack for this deep dive.
We really do. It's a breakdown featuring insights from a 15-year workers' comp veteran, someone who's actually evaluating these tools out in the real world.
Right, because our mission today is to cut through the massive, honestly, just deafening hype around medical tech. We want to figure out what genuinely streamlines a workflow versus what just adds, expensive, unnecessary complexity.
Yeah, because the noise in the market right now is just overwhelming. Every software vendor knows that medical providers are pretty much desperate.
Drowning in administrative burden, basically.
Exactly. So when these marketing brochures promise a totally autonomous solution, something you just plug in and walk away from, it feels like a lifeline to these clinics.
It's entirely out of control, honestly. Yeah. The tech industry has this weird obsession with slapping the phrase AI powered on literally every piece of software just to inflate the price. I mean, I'm fully expecting to see an AI powered waiting room chair hit the market next week.
Oh, totally.
It dynamically optimizes your sitting experience based on algorithmic posture analysis.
Yeah.
Or something ridiculous like that.
And the sad thing is, people would probably buy it. But, the reality painted by our veteran source is starkly different from those brochures. The most advanced tech stacks in 2026 are not the flashiest ones.
Right.
And they certainly aren't single magical pieces of software that just run a clinic while everyone sleeps.
No, the source makes it super clear that a modern workers' comp setup is an ecosystem.
Right.
It's a collection of tools.
Yes.
We're talking about patient intake platforms,
the
electronic health record, or EHR, billing engines, tools for generating requests for authorization, and the communication networks that tie them all together.
And the fatal misconception here, the one many providers hold, is believing that purchasing those individual tools will automatically solve all their compliance and denial issues. They view technology as a cure for bad operational habits.
Okay, let's unpack this because I need to push back on that a little bit. If I'm spending, tens of thousands of dollars on a premium system, shouldn't it fix my bad habits?
Well, no, that's not really how it works.
But think about a modern smart car. If I'm being a bad driver and I'm drifting over the line, the lane assist technology physically intervenes and keeps me centered.
Right.
But so why shouldn't a premium medical tech stack do the exact same thing for a clinic's sloppy administrative work?
What's fascinating here is that you have to look at the underlying mechanics of what you're actually automating. If you put lane assist on a car with a fundamentally broken steering column, you aren't going to drive straighter. You're just going to crash into the guardrail faster and, with far more technological confidence.
That's a great point.
Technology in the medical space acts as a magnifying glass for your existing processes. So if a clinic's front desk is inconsistent with collecting data, or if the doctors are habitually vague with their clinical notes,
then an expensive automated system will just process those errors at lightning speed.
Exactly. It takes a slow leak and turns it into an absolute flood.
Wow. So instead of getting 5 claim denials a week because a human clerk is slowly typing in the wrong codes, you get 500 denials a day.
Yeah.
Because the machine is perfectly executing a flawed instruction.
Precisely the danger. The ultimate goal of a modern tech stack is integration and flawless data flow.
Yeah.
It's not just isolated task automation.
Right.
Think of your clinic's patient data like water. Legacy software systems, they kind of trap that data in ice blocks.
Ice blocks, yeah.
You had to manually melt it down, meaning a human had to read a screen, type it into a completely different screen, and hit save just to move it from the intake desk to the billing department.
Which takes forever.
Right.
Yeah.
But the 2026 ecosystem relies on application programming interfaces, or APIs, and these act like digital plumbing, allowing that data to flow completely seamlessly from one software tool to another without human hands ever touching it.
So if that amplification effect is real and bad data flows that quickly, then the single most dangerous place for a bad habit has to be the very first interaction, right? The front door of the clinic, the moment the patient walks in.
Oh, without a doubt. The battle against claim denials is frequently won or lost before the patient even sees a doctor.
Wow.
Intake systems have completely transformed. They went from passive data collection into the first critical control point of the entire workers' comp ecosystem.
And the source material highlights this beautifully because historically, intake was just, handing a patient a clipboard, getting a scribbled name, a date of birth, and just hoping they remembered their employer's phone number.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But now, the technology at the front desk is actively defending the clinic's revenue.
It has to, because in workers' comp, a tiny error at intake guarantees a massive problem downstream. Modern systems use optical character recognition, or OCR.
Right, OCR.
Yeah. So when a patient hands over an insurance card or an ID, the clinic isn't just snapping a static photo anymore. The OCR technology scans the image, extracts the text, converts it into structured, usable data, and then instantly, securely pings the payer's database or a clearinghouse.
So it's actively verifying coverage in real time, right there at the desk.
Exactly. Before the receptionist even hands the ID back, the system knows if the insurance is active, if the employer information actually matches, and what specific authorization requirements are going to be needed for that exact payer.
Which is huge, because if a human types an insurance group number with a 0 instead of the letter O, that claim might float in purgatory for, 60 days.
Easily 60 days, but OCR and real-time API pinging eliminate that entirely.
So once that pristine, verified data gets past the front desk, it flows straight into the electronic health record.
Yes, through those APIs.
And the evolution of the EHR in 2026 is super fascinating. The analogy I keep landing on is that older EHRs were basically a dusty basement filing cabinet.
That's a good way to put it.
You could just throw a half-finished, totally vague medical note in there, close the drawer, and the cabinet didn't care. It was just a place to hold paper.
Right, they were purely passive repositories.
But the 2026 EHR operates more like an incredibly strict, slightly annoying coworker who stands in front of your office door and physically blocks you from leaving until your paperwork is absolutely perfect.
Yes.
It actively guides and enforces documentation quality.
And there's a reason for that. Payers have become increasingly sophisticated in finding reasons to deny claims. So the software had to evolve to protect the providers.
Defense mechanisms.
Exactly. And this is where natural language processing, or NLP, comes into play. The EHR isn't just storing the doctor's narrative note anymore. The NLP algorithm is actually reading and comprehending the unstructured text as the doctor types or dictates it.
So it's actively looking over their shoulder.
In a sense, yes. It cross-references the doctor's narrative against these massive, complex rules engines.
Give me an example of that.
Well, for instance, the software knows that a specific insurance company requires range of motion degrees for any shoulder injury claim. If the NLP reads the note and realizes the doctor just wrote, "Patient has limited mobility," without the exact degree measurements, the system throws a hard stop.
It just won't let them move on.
Right. It flags the missing clinical information right there on the screen.
It might also flag a coding inconsistency or remind the doctor about a missing modifier. And for anyone listening who isn't deep in the billing trenches, a modifier is just a little 2-digit add-on code that tells the insurance company a service was altered in some specific way.
Like if a procedure was performed on both arms instead of just one.
Right. And forgetting that little 2-digit code means you literally don't get paid for half the work.
And that real-time enforcement is vital for defensibility. In workers' comp, you aren't just treating a patient, you are building a legal and financial case for that treatment's medical necessity.
Yeah.
The EHR catches the technical omissions, but the clinical truth still has to come from the physician.
Which brings us to the actual arena where this legal case is fought. Requests for authorization, or RFAs, and the billing engines.
The real battleground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because once the intake data is clean and the strict EHR is satisfied with the doctor's note, that information has to be deployed to actually get the treatment approved and paid.
This is the most critical juncture. And according to our industry veteran source, it is also where providers are making catastrophic mistakes with how they use their tech stack.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics first.
Yeah.
Modern RFA tools are incredibly powerful because they automate the most tedious parts of the process, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They automatically pull the patient's demographics, the injury codes, and the doctor's clinical notes out of the EHR using those APIs we talked about earlier. Then, they format all of that into the exact submission standard required by the state or the specific payer.
And they go a step further, too. A robust 2026 RFA tool actually validates the request against treatment guidelines before submission.
Which is huge.
It's massive. It checks the request against standardized medical rulebooks like the Medical Treatment Utilization Schedule, or MTUS, which payers use to determine if a treatment is scientifically justified.
And this lowers denial rates significantly, because you aren't blindly sending over a request for an expensive MRI only to get an immediate denial letter pointing out that the MTUS guidelines require 6 weeks of conservative physical therapy first.
Right. The system catches the mismatch early.
And the back-end billing systems operate on similar compliance engines, yeah.
Yes. They compare the billed service codes against the actual narrative documentation in real time, ensuring everything aligns perfectly before the claim is ever even transmitted.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. And I want to really challenge the source material's conclusion on this part.
Okay, let's hear it.
The veteran source insists that providers are making a fatal mistake by trusting this automation and not reviewing the RFAs manually before hitting send.
That's right.
But if a clinic is paying a premium for an RFA tool, specifically because its algorithm is trained on the latest MTUS treatment guidelines,
Yeah.
why shouldn't they trust it? I mean, isn't a highly trained machine learning algorithm statistically less likely to make a compliance error than a burned-out billing clerk at 4:30 on a Friday?
Statistically, on routine formatting, sure, the machine is vastly superior. But this raises an important question because you're ignoring the nature of how generative AI actually functions. And more importantly, where the legal liability rests.
Okay, what do you mean?
AI models, especially the ones drafting narratives, are essentially ultra-advanced predictive text, like the autocomplete on your phone, but on a massive scale.
Right.
They are guessing the most logical next word or phrase based on their training data.
So they aren't thinking or understanding the patient?
Yeah.
They're just calculating the most mathematically probable sentence to satisfy the prompt.
Exactly. And that introduces the huge risk of what developers call hallucinations.
Hallucinations, yeah.
Let's say the AI reviews a complex chart to draft a request for specific surgery. The algorithm knows the insurance company wants to see a history of failed conservative care to approve this surgery. It might confidently infer a clinical justification that wasn't actually there, or subtly misinterpret a complex prior medical history to make the current request look perfectly compliant.
Wait, really? So the AI might literally invent a symptom or exaggerate a past treatment just because its predictive text model knows that phrase usually results in an approval?
It happens way more often than you'd think. The software is optimizing for the goal, which is getting the RFA formatted to guideline standards, but it lacks human clinical context.
Wow.
If a provider blindly trusts that automation and hits send without verifying that the clinical justification is 100% accurate to the actual patient sitting in front of them, they have crossed a very dangerous line.
Because the insurance company doesn't care if the algorithm hallucinated.
Not even a little bit. The payer only cares whose signature is on the form. If you submit a legally flimsy or factually incorrect authorization request, the resulting denial, or worse, a full-blown fraud investigation, is completely on the provider. You cannot outsource your medical license to a predictive text engine.
Man, that's a scary thought. So the automation acts as an incredible assistant. It gathers the water, builds the plumbing, finds the right codes, formats the forms, and gets you all the way to the 1-yard line.
Yes.
But a human clinician still has to review the actual medical truth of the document and carry the ball into the end zone.
That is the definitive hybrid model of 2026.
Yeah.
Routine administrative friction is eliminated by software, but clinical decisions and compliance judgments remain firmly in human hands.
Which really highlights the danger of isolated tools. We've talked about all these distinct pieces, the OCR intake systems, the NLP-driven EHRs, the automated RFA generators, the billing compliance engines.
Yeah, it's a lot of tools.
But having world-class individual tools is utterly pointless if they cause friction when you try to use them together. We need to talk about the invisible glue holding this ecosystem together.
Because friction is the absolute enemy of cash flow. If your cutting-edge RFA tool cannot seamlessly pull the clinical note from your EHR through an API, you are right back to a human being doing manual data entry.
You're back to melting the ice blocks.
Exactly. And that defeats the entire purpose of the investment. This is why secure, integrated communication platforms are just as vital as the clinical software. The communication layer between providers, insurance adjusters, and the payers themselves has to be completely unified.
Because delays in workers' comp usually don't happen because a specific medical treatment is inherently controversial.
No, rarely.
They happen simply because of a breakdown in information exchange. Like an adjuster needs one more clarifying document to approve a claim, they leave a voicemail, the clinic's front desk misses it, the adjuster sends an email to a generic inbox that no one checks, and the patient's claim just sits in purgatory for 3 weeks.
And it is worse than just a game of phone tag. Because the penalty for losing isn't just a misconnection, it's a delayed surgery, a patient out of work longer than necessary, and a clinic waiting months for reimbursement.
Which is brutal for cash flow.
Yeah, but integrated, secure messaging systems that tie directly into the claim file eliminate that friction entirely.
Now, beyond the communication networks, the source material points to one final piece of invisible glue, which is analytics.
Yes, analytics.
And the way I'm picturing this, it's essentially a medical diagnosis, but for the clinic itself. Instead of the management team sitting around a conference table at the end of the quarter, kind of guessing why their revenue is down, these modern analytics act like an MRI of their own business operations.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. Analytics are no longer just historical dashboards showing what happened last month. They are active compliance tools.
How so?
Well, because the ecosystem is connected via APIs, the analytics engine can track denial trends, RFA approval rates, and payer behavior in real time.
Okay, but how does that actually change day-to-day operations?
It pinpoints the exact lesion in the workflow, let's say revenue dips. The analytics can show you that it's not a global issue. Rather, one specific payer's algorithm has suddenly started denying a specific billing code. Or perhaps the system flags that one particular doctor in your practice is consistently ignoring the EHR's prompt to document range of motion, causing 40% of their claims to bounce.
So you don't have to guess where the bottleneck is. The data highlights it instantly.
Exactly. And the most encouraging detail from our 15-year veteran source is that these tools are no longer restricted to massive hospital networks.
Right, the cloud.
Yes. Thanks to cloud-hosted platforms, smaller independent workers' comp clinics can actually afford this level of integration in 2026. Though the source does add a major caveat.
Which is?
Successful implementation depends entirely on operational readiness. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it all comes back to a core truth. Outcomes, not a shiny user interface or list of buzzwords, are the real measurement of a tech stack's value.
Right.
You do not measure success by how many AI features your software claims to have. A successful tech stack is measured by tangible metrics: lower denial rates, faster RFA approvals, fewer billing corrections, and a measurable reduction in administrative workload for your staff.
It is so easy to lose sight of those basic metrics when a vendor is pitching you the next big technological revolution.
Oh, totally. And the trap is complexity. The source makes it crystal clear that more tools do not equal a better system.
Yeah.
If you stack 5 different premium software solutions on top of each other and they don't integrate seamlessly, you haven't bought efficiency. You have just purchased 5 new ways for your staff to make a data entry error.
That is such a great point.
Simplicity, backed by tight integration, will always outperform isolated complexity.
Okay, let's synthesize all of this. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground, but the key takeaways from evaluating the 2026 workers' comp landscape are sharp and actionable. For you listening, the best tech stack isn't some futuristic autonomous sci-fi machine running your practice.
No, it's not.
It is a carefully curated ecosystem that focuses relentlessly on the unglamorous basics, getting intake data perfectly accurate, enforcing clinical documentation quality, and ensuring billing precision before a claim ever leaves the building.
It is a true partnership between human and machine. Routine administrative heavy lifting, extracting data, formatting forms, checking rules that is automated. But the ultimate clinical decisions and compliance judgments are actively protected by human oversight.
So what does this all mean for you and your daily operations? It means recognizing that software alone will never fix a human workflow problem. Technology is simply an amplifier. It takes whatever habits you currently have, good or bad, and executes them at an unprecedented speed and scale.
Yep. If you haven't fixed the foundational processes at the front desk or in the exam room, buying new software is just going to automate your own chaos.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over as you evaluate your own systems. If we accept that technology acts as a magnifying glass for your existing habits, what hidden, ignored flaws in your clinic's daily workflow are you about to accidentally put on steroids if you upgrade your tech tomorrow?
It is a critical question to answer before signing any new vendor contract.
Something to seriously investigate. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the reality of medical tech. Keep asking the right questions, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for listening to Workers Comp Unwrapped. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe and share with fellow doctors. Stay informed and keep making a difference in your patient's care.